A white ER doctor looked at a black woman with a swollen ankle and decided she wasn't worth his time. He made her wait for hours while treating white patients with minor complaints. He questioned whether she was faking pain. He suggested she was seeking drugs. What he didn't know? She was his new boss, and her first day was Monday morning. Watch what happens when she walks into that staff meeting. Dr. Angela Morrison's ankle gave out on the third trip up the stairs to her new apartment. She was carrying a box labeled Kitchen Fragile when her foot caught on the edge of a step, twisted, and sent a bolt of pain shooting up her leg. The box crashed down, plates shattered, and Angela sat on the stairs, gripping her ankle and cursing her decision to move into a fourth-floor walk-up. "You okay?" Her neighbor, a college student named Marcus, appeared at the landing. "I heard the crash." "I'm fine," Angela said automatically. Then she looked at her ankle, already swelling above her sneaker. "Actually, no. I think I sprained it pretty badly." Marcus helped her to her apartment and offered to drive her to the hospital. Angela declined. She'd call a rideshare. She didn't want to impose on a stranger, even a helpful one. 20 minutes later, she was in an Uber heading to Mercy General Hospital, her new workplace. The hospital where, come Monday morning, she would officially start as the new director of medicine and chief of operations. But tonight, she was just another patient. And maybe that was perfect. Angela had been hired specifically to address cultural problems at Mercy General. The board had been clear during her interview. Patient satisfaction scores were declining, staff turnover was high, and there were whispers, never quite provable, never quite loud enough to investigate, of differential treatment based on race and class. "We need someone who can see what we can't," board chairman Robert Sterling had told her. "Someone who'll dig deep and make real changes." Angela had accepted the challenge. She'd spent 25 years in medicine, working her way from a community clinic to heading the ER at City Memorial. She'd seen bias in healthcare, fought it, documented it, and implemented systems to combat it. But she'd never experienced it herself as a patient. Not really. She'd always been Dr. Morrison, a title that opened doors, commanded respect, and insulated her from the worst of it. Tonight, she was just Angela. No white coat, no credentials, no armor. The Uber dropped her at the ER entrance. Angela hobbled inside, her ankle throbbing with each step. The waiting room was exactly what she expected for a Saturday night, crowded, loud, and filled with a cross-section of humanity. Elderly patients, young parents with crying children, a teenager holding a bloody towel to his head, a homeless man sleeping in the corner. She approached the registration desk. A middle-aged white woman looked up from her computer. Name? Angela Morrison. Reason for visit? Sprained ankle, pretty severe. I can't put weight on it. The receptionist typed without much interest. Insurance? Angela provided her card, excellent coverage through her previous hospital, though she hadn't had time to transfer it to Mercy General's system yet. Have a seat. Someone will call you. Angela found a chair between an elderly Hispanic woman and a young black man who looked like he'd been waiting for hours. She checked the ticket dispenser. The electronic board showed they were currently on. She settled in to wait, her ankle propped awkwardly on the chair beside her. The swelling was getting worse. She probably needed an X-ray, definitely needed it wrapped, possibly needed more intervention if ligaments were torn. Around her, the ER hummed with controlled chaos. Nurses moved efficiently between triage and treatment areas. EMTs wheeled in a gurney. Overhead pages called for doctors to various rooms. And then he walked out. Dr. Richard Bradford. Angela recognized him from the staff photos she'd reviewed during her interview process. Senior attending physician, 15 years at Mercy General, impressive credentials from Johns Hopkins. On paper, he was exactly the kind of experienced doctor a hospital needed. But Angela had also seen his patient satisfaction scores. High among wealthy and white patients, noticeably lower among minorities and uninsured patients. The board had called it statistically anomalous. Angela called it a red flag. Bradford scanned the waiting room with the air of someone deciding which problem to deal with first. His eyes passed over the elderly Hispanic woman, the young black man, Angela herself. Then the doors opened and a young white woman walked in. She was in her 20s, well-dressed, holding a hand with what looked like a minor cut wrapped in a paper towel. "I'm so sorry," she told the receptionist. I was cooking and the knife slipped. It's not deep, but it won't stop bleeding. Bradford moved immediately toward her. Let me take a look. I'm Dr. Bradford. Oh, thank you. I didn't want to bother anyone, but no bother at all. Come with me. He escorted her back to the treatment area without checking the queue, without consulting the triage nurse, without even glancing at the waiting room full of people who'd been there longer. Nurse Maria Santos appeared in the doorway, her face tight with frustration. Dr. Bradford, we have patients who've been waiting for over 2 hours. I'm aware, Nurse Santos. I'm triaging based on medical need. That woman has a minor laceration. We have a patient with chest pain, another with a possible fracture. Thank you for your input, Bradford said coldly. I'll assess the patients as I see fit. He disappeared into the treatment area with his chosen patient. Maria stood there for a moment, clearly biting back words. Then she noticed Angela watching. I'm sorry, Maria said quietly. This happens more than it should. How long have I been waiting? Angela asked. Maria checked her tablet. According to this, you checked in at 7:52. It's now 8:47. And that woman who just walked in? Checked in at 8:44, 3 minutes ago. Maria's jaw tightened. Like I said, it happens. She moved on to check on other patients, and Angela sat back, processing what she'd just witnessed. It was one thing to see statistics in a report, another thing entirely to experience it firsthand. She pulled out her phone and started taking notes. Times, patient descriptions, Bradford's exact words. She'd been the director for all of 5 minutes, unofficially, and she was already building a case. An hour passed, then another. Angela's ankle was now seriously swollen, purple bruising spreading across the joint. Every few minutes the pain would spike, making her breathe through her teeth. Around her, other patients came and went. A white woman with back pain, a white man with flu symptoms. Both were called back within minutes of checking in. The young black man beside Angela finally stood up in frustration. Man, I've been here 3 hours with a dislocated shoulder. 3 hours? And everyone who came in after me is getting seen first. The receptionist barely looked up. Please have a seat, sir. The doctor will see you when he's available. When's that going to be? When the sun comes up? Sir, if you continue to be disruptive, we'll have to ask you to leave. He sat back down, shaking his head in disgust. Angela wanted to say something, wanted to intervene, but she held back. She was gathering evidence, watching patterns, seeing what would happen if she remained just another patient, another black woman in the ER, another person who could be ignored. Finally, at 9:47 p.m., over 2 hours after she'd arrived, her number was called. Number 47, Morrison. Angela stood slowly, wincing as weight shifted to her injured ankle. She hobbled toward the treatment area, where Nurse Maria was waiting with a wheelchair. I'm so sorry for the wait, Maria said quietly as she helped Angela into the chair. Let's get you looked at. She wheeled Angela to examination room 3 and helped her onto the bed. Dr. Bradford will be with you shortly. Can I get you anything? Water? Ice pack? Ice would be great, thank you. Maria returned with an ice pack and carefully positioned it on Angela's ankle. This looks really painful. It is. You should have been seen hours ago. Maria hesitated, then added, I documented the wait time in your chart. Just so you know. Angela met her eyes. Thank you, Maria. After Maria left, Angela sat alone in the examination room, her ankle throbbing, her mind cataloging every detail of the past 2 hours. This was exactly what she'd been hired to fix, and now she'd experienced it herself. The door opened. Dr. Bradford walked in, already looking at his phone, barely glancing at her. Ms. Morrison, he said, not a question, just an acknowledgement. Says here you have an ankle injury. Yes. I twisted it on some stairs about 3 hours ago. The swelling has gotten significantly worse. Bradford set down his phone and approached, still without making eye contact. He poked at her ankle, not gently, causing her to flinch. Can you move it? Not without significant pain. On a scale of 1 to 10? Right now? 7. When you just touched it? 10. Bradford made a note, his expression suggesting skepticism. And you waited 3 hours to come in? No, I came in 3 hours ago. I've been in your waiting room. He didn't acknowledge the correction. Any prior injuries to this ankle? No. Taking any medications? No. Any drug allergies? No. He finally looked at her, and something in his expression made Angela's skin prickle. It was the look of someone who'd already... Ms. Morrison, I'm going to be honest with you. This looks like a minor sprain. Ice, elevation, over-the-counter pain medication. You didn't really need to come to the ER for this. Angela stared at him. My ankle is severely swollen. I can't put weight on it, and I'm in significant pain. That's not minor. I've seen actual fractures, Ms. Morrison. This isn't that serious. Shouldn't we at least do an X-ray to rule out a fracture? Bradford sighed, as if she were being difficult. If you insist. But I'm telling you now, it's going to be negative, and you'll have wasted everyone's time and resources. Before Angela could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his demeanor immediately changed. I need to take this, he said, already turning toward the door. I'll have the nurse order your X-ray. And he walked out, leaving Angela alone in the examination room, her ankle untreated, her pain unaddressed, her medical concerns dismissed. She sat there in the sudden silence and felt something she hadn't felt in years, completely powerless. But Monday was coming, and Dr. Richard Bradford had no idea what was waiting for him. The X-ray showed a grade 2 ankle sprain with possible ligament damage. The radiologist recommended further imaging and consultation with orthopedics. Bradford glanced at the results when he finally returned, 40 minutes after leaving, and shrugged. See? No fracture, just like I said. But the report mentions ligament damage, Angela pointed out, reading the screen over his shoulder. Possible ligament damage, probably nothing. Wrap it, ice it, take ibuprofen. You'll be fine in a week. He was already writing discharge instructions. Shouldn't we at least discuss physical therapy? Or follow-up care? Bradford looked at her like she was speaking another language. Ms. Morrison, this is an emergency room. We treat emergencies. A sprained ankle is not an emergency. If you want hand-holding and lengthy consultations, schedule an appointment with your primary care physician. I don't have one. I just moved here. Well, that's not my problem. He handed her the discharge papers. Nurse will wrap your ankle and give you crutches. Have a nice evening. He left. Again. Angela sat there holding the papers, her ankle still throbbing, her treatment incomplete, her medical concerns ignored. Around her, she could hear Bradford in the next examination room, his voice warm and engaged as he spoke with a patient. I know this has been scary for you, he was saying, but we're going to take excellent care of you. Let me personally make sure we get you scheduled with the best specialist. It was the same doctor, the same ER, but a completely different level of care. Nurse Maria came in to wrap Angela's ankle, her face apologetic. I'm sorry about the wait. And about everything. This happens a lot? Angela asked quietly. Maria hesitated, then nodded. More than it should. Dr. Bradford has his preferred patients. The rest of us try to pick up the slack, but when he's the senior attending... She trailed off, finishing the wrap. There. Try to keep weight off it for at least a week. And honestly, find another doctor for follow-up, someone who'll actually listen. Angela accepted the crutches and made her way out of the ER. It was nearly midnight. She'd been there for over 4 hours. Her ankle still hurt, and she'd received the bare minimum of care. But she'd learned everything she needed to know. Sunday, Angela spent icing her ankle and reviewing Mercy General's patient records. She had access to the system now as incoming director, though nobody knew she'd activated her credentials early. She pulled Bradford's patient data from the past 6 months. The patterns were undeniable. Average wait time for white patients, 47 minutes. Average wait time for black patients, 2 hours 34 minutes. Average wait time for Hispanic patients, 2 hours 18 minutes. Patient satisfaction scores told the same story. Bradford's ratings were sky high among white patients, especially wealthy ones. Among minority patients, his scores were in the bottom 10% of all ER physicians nationally. Complaint letters painted an even clearer picture. Dr. Bradford acted like I was wasting his time. He barely examined me before sending me home. I felt like he didn't believe I was really in pain. All from patients of color. all dismissed by administration as subjective experiences or communication style differences. Angela made copies of everything and added her own experience to the file. By Sunday evening, she had a case. Monday morning arrived. Angela dressed carefully, navy suit, white blouse, her favorite pearl earrings. She looked at herself in the mirror and took a deep breath. Her ankle was still wrapped, still painful, but she could walk with minimal limping. Time to meet her staff. She arrived at Mercy General at 7:30 a.m. and went straight to her new office on the 5th floor. The nameplate was already on the door. Dr. Angela Morrison, Director of Medicine. She sat behind the desk and pulled up the staff schedule. Bradford was working today, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift. Perfect. At 8 a.m., she called down to the ER. "This is Dr. Morrison. I'd like to schedule a staff meeting for 9:30 this morning. All physicians and senior nurses currently on duty. Conference room B." The secretary sounded surprised. "All of them?" "Dr. Bradford usually doesn't." "All of them," Angela repeated firmly. "It's not optional." At 9:25, Angela walked into conference room B. Her ankle protested with each step, but she ignored it. About 20 staff members were already there, looking curious and slightly nervous. Bradford sat near the back, checking his phone, barely glancing up. He had no idea who she was. At exactly 9:30, Angela moved to the front of the room. "Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Angela Morrison, your new Director of Medicine. I officially started today, though some of you met me this weekend." She looked directly at Bradford. His expression was politely interested but distant. He still didn't recognize her. "On Saturday evening," Angela continued, "I came to our ER with a sprained ankle. I was patient number 47. I waited over 2 hours to be seen, despite patients who arrived after me being treated first. When I was finally examined, my concerns were dismissed, my pain was questioned, and my care was rushed and inadequate." The room went very quiet. Bradford's face was starting to change. "The doctor who treated me, or rather, barely treated me, is in this room right now." Angela's eyes never left Bradford's face. "Dr. Bradford, do you remember patient number 47 from Saturday night?" Bradford had gone pale. I treated many patients on Saturday. A black woman. Ankle injury. You told her she was wasting everyone's time. You suggested she didn't really need to be in the ER. You left in the middle of her examination to take a phone call. You dismissed the radiologist's concerns about ligament damage. Do you remember now?" The silence was deafening. Every eye in the room was on Bradford. "Dr. Morrison," he stammered, If you had known I was a doctor, if you had known I was your new boss, then you would have treated me differently." Angela's voice was calm but steel. "That's exactly the problem, Dr. Bradford. Your level of care shouldn't depend on who the patient is or what position they hold. Every patient deserves respect. Every patient deserves thorough treatment. Every patient matters." She pulled out a folder. "I've reviewed your patient data from the past 6 months. Your average wait times for minority patients are 3 times longer than for white patients. Your satisfaction scores among Black and Hispanic patients are in the bottom 10th percentile nationally, and I have 17 formal complaints about dismissive or discriminatory treatment, all from patients of color." Bradford's face went from pale to red. "Those statistics are taken out of context, are they?" "Because my experience on Saturday night provided all the context I need. You saw a black woman and made assumptions. You decided I wasn't worth your time or attention. You provided substandard care because you believed I didn't deserve better." "That's not... I would never..." Bradford stood up, defensive now. "This is unfair. You're targeting me because of one interaction. I'm addressing a pattern. A documented, statistical, undeniable pattern of differential treatment." Angela's voice rose slightly. "And if you'd provided excellent care to me on Saturday night while providing poor care to white patients, we'd be having the same conversation. This isn't about me. It's about every patient who's walked into this ER and been judged based on skin color rather than medical need." Nurse Maria spoke up from the side of the room. "Dr. Morrison is right. I've tried to address this before, multiple times. I've been told I was being too sensitive." Another nurse nodded. "I've documented wait time discrepancies. I was told it was just how patient flow worked. Dr. Chen, the young resident, raised his hand tentatively. I've seen it too. I thought I was imagining things. Bradford looked around the room, seeing his support evaporating. This is a witch hunt. You've decided to make an example of me on your first day. No, Angela interrupted. You made an example of yourself. Your actions have consequences, and those consequences start now. She handed him a document. You're suspended pending a full investigation, 2 weeks without pay. During that time, a committee will review every patient interaction you've had over the past year. If the patterns I've identified are confirmed, you'll face disciplinary action up to and including termination. You can't do this, Bradford's voice cracked. I have 15 years at this hospital. I have seniority. The board hired me specifically to address cultural problems. They've given me full authority to make personnel decisions. If you'd like to appeal, that's your right. But the suspension is effective immediately. Badge and credentials, please. Bradford stood there, shaking with rage and humiliation. Then he threw his badge on the table and stormed out. The room remained silent for a long moment after he left. Finally, Angela spoke again, her voice softer now. I know change is difficult. I know some of you may feel this was too harsh, but I want to be clear about what we're building here. Mercy General will be a place where every patient receives excellent care regardless of race, class, or background, where every staff member feels empowered to speak up about problems, where bias has no place. She looked around the room, making eye contact with each person. If you're committed to that vision, I want you on my team. If you're not, this probably isn't the right workplace for you. Questions? Maria raised her hand. What happens now? We're short-staffed without Bradford. I'm bringing in a temporary attending from City Memorial, someone I've worked with for years. Dr. Patricia Okafor starts tomorrow, and we're opening positions for 2 more ER physicians who share our values. Angela smiled slightly. Applications are welcome. The meeting ended, and staff filed out, buzzing with conversation. Maria approached Angela privately. Thank you for listening, for believing, for actually doing something. Thank you for documenting what you saw, for speaking up today. That took courage. As Angela limped back to her office, her ankle still aching, she felt something shift. This was just day 1. There would be more battles ahead, but she'd sent a message. At Mercy General, everyone mattered now. The investigation took 10 days. Angela assembled a committee of 3 outside physicians, 2 patient advocates, and a medical ethics expert. They reviewed Bradford's cases systematically, every patient interaction, every chart note, every wait time. The findings were damning. Bradford had treated 847 patients over 6 months. White patients received an average of 23 minutes of his time. Black patients received 11 minutes. Hispanic patients received 9 minutes. He ordered comprehensive tests for white patients with vague symptoms, but dismissed minority patients with serious complaints as drug-seeking or exaggerating. One case particularly stood out. A black woman with chest pain had been sent home with antacids. She returned 3 hours later in cardiac arrest. She survived, but only because a different doctor recognized the heart attack Bradford had missed. Bradford had documented her as anxious, likely indigestion. He'd spent 6 minutes with her total. The committee's recommendation was unanimous: termination. Angela called Bradford into her office on Thursday afternoon. He arrived with a lawyer and a union representative, both looking ready for battle. Dr. Bradford, Angela began, sliding the report across her desk. The investigation is complete. The committee found systematic patterns of discriminatory care. I'm terminating your employment at Mercy General, effective immediately. Bradford's lawyer leaned forward. Dr. Morrison, my client disputes these findings. The data is cherry-picked and misinterpreted. We'll be filing a wrongful termination suit. That's your right, Angela said calmly. But I'd encourage you to read page 47 of the report. The case of Mrs. Johnson, the heart attack patient your client sent home with antacids. Her family is also preparing legal action against Dr. Bradford personally. Bradford's face went white. That was a judgment call. A judgment call that nearly killed someone because you spent 6 minutes with her and decided she was faking. Angela's voice was quiet but firm. Your pattern of care put patients at risk. That's not a personnel issue, that's a patient safety issue. The lawyer glanced at Bradford, then at the report. We'll need time to review. Take all the time you need, but Dr. Bradford's termination stands. He's prohibited from entering hospital property. His credentials are revoked. This meeting is over. After they left, Angela sat alone in her office. No satisfaction in this, just sadness that it had taken so long, that so many patients had suffered, that the system had protected Bradford for years. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maria. Emergency room patients are asking for you. They heard what happened. They want to say thank you. Angela smiled slightly and headed downstairs. The ER waiting room was different now. Dr. Patricia Okafor had started, bringing warmth and competence. Wait times had dropped dramatically. Patient satisfaction scores were climbing, and more importantly, every patient was being treated with dignity. Angela walked through, checking on operations, a young black mother with a fussy baby, an elderly Asian man with breathing problems, a teenage Latino boy with a sports injury, all receiving excellent care, all being treated like they mattered. Dr. Morrison, Maria waved her over. Mrs. Chen wanted to talk to you. An elderly Chinese woman approached, holding her grandson's hand. Through her grandson translating, she explained, My grandson broke his arm last night. The doctor here, Dr. Okafor, she was so kind. She explained everything in simple words so I could understand. She made sure my grandson wasn't scared. She treated us like family. The grandson added, Grandma said she came here 2 years ago with chest pains. A different doctor sent her home without even checking. She was too scared to come back. But last night when my arm broke, she brought me anyway. And it was different. Angela felt her throat tighten. I'm glad we could help. And Mrs. Chen? I'm sorry about what happened 2 years ago. We're working to make sure it never happens again. 3 months later, Mercy General's numbers told the story. Average ER wait times down 40%. Patient satisfaction scores up 65%. Complaint letters down 80%. Staff retention up 45%. But the real measure wasn't in statistics. It was in moments. Like when a young black father brought his daughter in with a fever, and the doctor spent 20 minutes explaining everything, answering every question, treating them both with respect. Like when an immigrant family arrived speaking limited English, and staff used translation services immediately, ensuring nothing was lost in communication. Like when a homeless patient came in with infected wounds and received the same quality care as the CEO who'd arrived an hour later with back pain. Angela conducted quarterly undercover visits, sometimes as a patient, sometimes as a visitor, sometimes as a volunteer. Each time she saw the culture shifting. Not perfectly, not everywhere, but genuinely. Dr. Bradford filed his lawsuit. It was dismissed. The medical board reviewed his case and suspended his license for 2 years. He eventually moved to a different state, a different hospital, where nobody knew his history. Angela wondered if he'd learned anything, if he'd changed, or if he was just waiting for a system that would protect him again. 6 months after that first staff meeting, the hospital board invited Angela to present her results. Chairman Sterling stood at the end, visibly moved. Dr. Morrison, when we hired you, we knew we had problems. We didn't know how deep they ran. You've not only addressed them, you've transformed this institution. Patient outcomes are up, community trust is rebuilding, and most importantly, we're living up to our mission, excellent care for everyone. Angela accepted the recognition with grace, but privately, she thought about patient number 47, about the woman she'd been that Saturday night, invisible, dismissed, in pain. I didn't transform anything alone, she told the board. The staff did. The nurses who'd been documenting problems for years, the young doctors who knew something was wrong but didn't know how to fix it, the patients who kept coming back despite being treated poorly because they had nowhere else to go. They're the heroes of this story. That evening, Angela stopped by the ER before heading home. Her ankle had healed completely now, but she still remembered the pain, the frustration, the helplessness. Dr. Okafor was just finishing a shift. "Another good day," she reported. "Busy, but everyone got seen. Everyone got treated right." "That's all we can ask," Angela said. She walked through the waiting room one more time. Diverse faces, different problems, but all receiving the same message. You matter. Your pain is real. We're here to help. A young black woman sat in the corner, holding her ankle. She looked nervous, scared, like she expected to be dismissed. Angela sat down beside her. "First time here?" The woman nodded. "I hurt my ankle, but I almost didn't come. I've had bad experiences at hospitals before." "You came to the right place," Angela said gently. "We'll take good care of you. I promise." When the woman's number was called, she smiled gratefully at Angela and hobbled toward the examination rooms. Angela watched her go and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real hope. The kind that comes from seeing change happen, one patient at a time. Because that's how systemic problems get solved. Not with one grand gesture, but with daily commitment, with refusing to accept that this is just how things are, with believing that everyone deserves dignity in their most vulnerable moments. Dr. Richard Bradford had seen a black woman and decided she didn't matter. Dr. Angela Morrison had experienced that dismissal and decided to change an entire system. Sometimes the person you underestimate is the one who changes everything. If this story resonated with you, subscribe and turn on notifications. Comment below. Have you or someone you know experienced bias in healthcare? How do we make sure everyone gets treated with dignity? Let's continue this important conversation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.